Hello friend, welcome back to Acre Homestead. It is beautiful outside and I want to be out there. And so we are going to get in the kitchen. We are going to do some meal prep so that not only can I get in and out of the kitchen quickly today, but so that coming up through garden season, meals are not going to be something that I have to spend as much time on because I would rather be out in the garden. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to can some baked beans. I've never done this before. I've always wanted to, and I am excited to start learning how to can. I know how to can beans, but I've never canned baked beans before. And I'm excited to learn how to can meals in a jar. Now, baked beans isn't necessarily a meal in and of itself, but it's a side dish. And so by canning this, it's gonna make upcoming meals a lot easier because for a side, all I have to do is open up a jar of baked beans and we have a side for dinner. So the first thing I'm going to do is get 5 cups of these these are Great Northern beans washed up because I'm going to use my electric pressure canner that's on the stove so that I don't have to pay attention to it. And that can be canning while we go ahead and we are going to make 6, I think, maybe 7 different marinades for the freezer so that I have main dishes ready to go. All I have to do is throw those in the crock pot, the oven, or on the grill for dinner. This is 4 cups, and this is 5 cups of beans. So we need 5 cups of beans, because 1 cup is gonna go in each one of these quarts, and I can put 5 quarts in my pressure canner, so that's how many beans we're gonna get washed up first. I'm putting 1 cup of beans in each one of these jars. My goal is to see if I can get all these marinades done in the time it takes for these beans to cook in the pressure cooker. Now we get to add the ingredients that make these beans into baked beans. So we're gonna do 1/4 cup of brown sugar. I don't have brown sugar up here, I have some downstairs, but I have sugar and molasses, so I'm just gonna make my own right into the jar. So 1/4 cup of sugar in each jar. And then just about 1.5 teaspoons of molasses, and that's gonna make our brown sugar for us. We are pressure canning these beans. Beans have to be pressure canned because they are a low acid food. We are going to be adding ketchup and vinegar to it, but it's not quite enough it's not near enough actually to make it a safe water bath canned product. So we are going to get these in the pressure canner. This is some homemade ketchup that we made last summer with last year's tomatoes. Each jar is going to get 1/2 cup of ketchup. I got this recipe from Ruth Ann Zimmerman. She is a Mennonite mom. She has a YouTube channel. I can link this video down below where I got this recipe from her. And she's pretty active on Instagram, and she's an avid canner. And I was inspired when I saw this video to make this, to make my life easier this summer when garden season is in full swing. So I do have some store-bought ketchup too that was in my fridge because 1 jar wasn't quite enough. This ketchup jar is almost empty, so I'm just going to go ahead and finish it out and put the rest of the ketchup in each one of these jars. Each jar is going to get a little bit of mustard. These are onion flakes. These are homegrown onions that I dried and flaked up. You could use fresh onion, the recipe says, but I thought we would use onion that's dried just to save us a little bit of time. The recipe called for vinegar. It didn't say what kind, and I'm going to use some apple cider vinegar in this recipe today. The next ingredient is salt. Black pepper. And a pinch of red pepper flake. This isn't in the recipe, but I thought I would add just a pinch. The very last thing we're gonna add to our baked beans is some bacon. I have some pre-cooked bacon. I love keeping pre-cooked bacon in my freezer so that I can pull it out and use it anytime I need to. So we're gonna put the equivalent of about 1.5 slices of bacon in each one of these jars. The awesome thing about learning to can your own items is you can control the ingredients, you can control the flavor profile, and you just have a lot more control over the food that you make when you're able to can it up yourself. And the awesome thing about having some pre-cooked bacon in the freezer is I didn't even have to cook any bacon in order to have this done here. All right, so I think I chopped up a little bit too much, but that's good. So now all we have to do, this is really, really simple. This is coming together in a matter of minutes, is fill these jars with some water. Now I'm doing a cold pack method, which means that everything is the same temperature and it's cold. So the ingredients are cold, the water's cold, my canner is gonna be cold, and that's gonna put us at a lower risk for breaking jars. So once I put water in there and fill it up, I am gonna give it a stir to get any air bubbles out and to mix up the ingredients. And I can see that once I stirred that, we need to add a little bit more water. So we're gonna do 1 inch of headspace on each one of these jars. That's easy as that. You can see here why you want to make sure you stir it really well, because the water was not able to get to the bottom of this jar. So we're releasing all those air bubbles, and then we're going to have to add a little bit more water to make sure we get our 1 inch headspace. This smells so good. So if it tastes anything like it smells, then this is going to be a winner. I'm wiping the rims down on each one of these jars just to make sure that we have nothing that is going to inhibit a good seal. Now I'm going to put a new lid on each one of these jars. I already have my water in my canner. So all I need to do is add my jars. We have this on venting. This is just like an Instant Pot, except this is rated for canning, but you use it kind of the same way as you would an Instant Pot. I have it on vent. I'm gonna select pressure can, and I'm gonna can these for 90 minutes at my pressure. It's going to warm everything up. It's gonna vent for 10 minutes, and then we will close this, and then we will let it pressure can. So you definitely do not want to use a regular Instant Pot to can in. I get that question quite a bit, but they are not rated to regulate the pounds of pressure and the temperature and the time and all that stuff that needs to be regulated in order to have a safe product. So this is a designated electric pressure canner. I can link it down below if you're interested in it. It is my absolute favorite canning tool. I have a stovetop canner that I like and I use it, and it is a more affordable way to get into pressure canning. And I'm not gonna give it away or anything like that, because a lot of times if you've been here, I use both at one time. But I absolutely love this because now I can just kind of set it and forget it. There is one more step I have to do, but it will beep at me when I need to do that next step and I'm gonna be in the kitchen, but I don't have to watch a gauge, I don't have to listen for something. It is going to take care of the next steps for me, as opposed to my stovetop one that I have to babysit a little bit more. I am now going to switch gears and we are gonna make a bunch of dinners, and I don't really want to have to pay attention to a stovetop canner, and that's why I have this one. What I'm gonna do first, because I'm really notoriously bad at doing this step, is I'm going to label my bags on what we're making. So what we're gonna have for dinner is the honey chipotle marinade. I'm going to do one that is chicken and one that is beef. I'm gonna put today's date, which is May 5th. And like I said, what inspired this was this really cool cut of beef that I found at Costco, and I had never seen it before. And I normally don't buy beef at Costco because I buy it from a local farmer. But I wanted to try this cut out because if I like it, I will ask my butcher next time I get a side of beef to ask him to butcher it this way so that it's something that I can try. So we're gonna do honey chipotle. I forgot to write chipotle on there. I put honey chicken marinade, but the chipotle is an important part. I think I'm gonna do one of those in honey, and I think I'm gonna do one of those in beef, and I'm gonna do one of those in chicken. So honey, chipotle, beef. And I've got to figure out, so, and the other thing that inspired this was I found chicken on sale. I saw those stickers and I have to use it today or freeze it today. So I am going to marinate it and then get it in the freezer. I have those reusable silicone bags. I don't like to use those with raw beef, so I do use disposable with when I do this. Started with is the beef. I've got 2 packages of chicken thighs, 3 packages of chicken breast, a package from Costco which has 2 pork tenderloins and this beef. And I don't know exactly how many marinades we're gonna get to and how many meals we're gonna get to. I wanna use it all because all the chicken has to be frozen today. And so we're gonna start with the beef because I can just check this off and be done with it, because I know that I only wanna make the beef in the honey chipotle marinade and the Mongolian beef. So let me show you what this is. This is so interesting. It's a New York beef loin roast that's cut extremely thin. I've never seen this before. You can see how thin they are, and they're gonna cook up in no time. It's almost like what I would think a Philly steak would be. I've never cooked with that before. And I'm gonna make this for dinner tonight. We're gonna have tacos and I'm gonna make the honey chipotle. So I'll show you what this looks like cooked up. I have 2 Mongolian beefs here. So I'm gonna divide this meat in thirds between the 3 different bags. And then this one is the honey chipotle. This might be a total flop of making it like this, I don't know. But we're gonna try it out. For the honey chipotle chicken, I'm gonna use chicken thighs, and I have 2 packages here of chicken thighs. Since I need to clean up the chicken thighs for this marinade, I like to cut any excess fat off or anything like that. I'm gonna go ahead and get both of these packages prepped and cleaned up so that when I go to make the other marinades, they are already done and I can just go ahead and do this real quick. That was one nice thing about that beef, is I didn't have to do any prep or anything. I could just throw that right into the Ziploc bag. I might go ahead and prep the chicken breast too. I like to cut my chicken breasts in half when I grill them because I think they just cook up a lot faster on the grill, and it's a lot easier to cook them evenly because chicken breasts have that thick side. I have found that side gets By the time that side's done, the thin side is way overcooked and super dry. So if I cut it in half lengthwise, then they cook a lot more evenly. And I like to just cut the excess fat off of the chicken thighs because Josh and I don't really enjoy biting into that if that fat hasn't rendered off totally on the grill. I'm gonna put six chicken thighs in each one of these bags. 6 chicken thighs makes it perfect for Josh and I to be able to enjoy dinner, and then we'll each get usually another lunch or dinner from the leftovers from that. I usually only cook dinner about 3 times a week, and then we enjoy using what I've already cooked for lunches and dinners and things. So I love cooking, but I also like the convenience of not having to cook every night of the week and then not feeling the pressure on the nights that I don't want to cook that, oh goodness, we need to go get takeout or something like that. I can either pull out some leftovers that we've already cooked, or I can just pull out one of these marinades like the Mongolian beef that we're going to make. I could pull one of those out of the freezer, let that thaw, cook up some rice, cook up a vegetable, and bam, we have an easy dinner on a night that I don't feel like cooking, making the kitchen messy, super, super easy. So like I said earlier, what inspired this big, massive marinating meat marathon was the fact that I found the chicken on sale and it needed to be used or frozen on this day. So I picked up the chicken yesterday and it needs to be taken care of. So I thought, why don't I just prep a bunch of marinades and get that in the freezer. Now this beef I saw at Costco twice, and the first 2 times I did not pick it up, but the third time I purchased it because I'm so excited to try it. Spoiler alert, I absolutely love it. And I went to Costco after I had made this, and I was talking to one of the Costco employees who works in the butcher shop, and I asked them if that is a common cut because I have never seen it before, and she said it's there really regularly. So I'm sure if you ask if you've never seen it in your Costco, they probably have it. It is traditionally used for hot pots, but also people like to use it for grilling or Philly steak and things like that. But this is one way I like to save on my grocery budget, is if I find something on sale, I will purchase it, and then instead of just throwing the raw meat in the freezer, I thought I might as well take just a few minutes and get it prepped so my life in the future will be a little bit easier. I got all the meat trimmed, prepped, and in bags, and I've divvied out the meat into the correct bags, and I know that we are going to be getting 12 dishes, 12 mains today from what I have done. Now I put all of the meat in the refrigerator and I just pulled out the 2 that we're going to be working with. The first one we're going to do is the honey chipotle. And then I did go ahead and I washed all the produce that we're gonna need for these marinades. I grabbed out a bunch of spices. I'm sure we're gonna need more than that. I have our cutting board, our clean one, ready to go. And then here is the meat that we're gonna start with right now. A lot of these recipes we're gonna make right in the blender. So we are going to get the blender dirty this one time this afternoon. I'll rinse it between. No need to completely wash it though, because a lot of the same ingredients are in these different recipes. And so we'll just use the blender once and we'll get a lot of use out of it and only one time cleaning it. So for the honey chipotle marinade, that's the first thing we need to do. And I need to pull up my recipe. I already forgot to pull out one of the ingredients for this recipe, but no worries, just some limes. So I'm gonna get 4 limes juiced. I might do 5 because these are kind of small little limes, so we'll do 5. And we are gonna need cilantro for this recipe. That's parsley. This is cilantro. So I'm gonna use the stems and everything. I'm hoping to get out into the garden and actually plant cilantro today. Our canner is now producing steam, so that needs to vent for 10 minutes. Once it's venting for 10 minutes, we'll lock this, and then it will start the countdown of the canning for 90 minutes. So this is a jar of chipotles in adobo. This stuff is so good if you've never cooked with this before. It can be a little bit spicy. That's why adding the honey is gonna help balance the flavor. So I'm gonna put 4 of these. Chipotles are smoked jalapenos, and the adobo sauce is kind of a vinegary sauce, and I'm gonna pour about half that jar of the sauce in there. Now we're gonna add a ton of the spices. Salt, garlic powder, paprika, coriander, cumin, oregano, onion powder, chili powder, honey, and the oil of your choice. I'm gonna grab my bigger container of oil just so that this will go a little bit faster, because we're gonna use a lot of oil today for these marinades. And that's everything this recipe calls for. So we're gonna put the lid on and blend this up and then give it a good taste test. I wanna give this a taste test before we put it on our meat, because we can adjust the seasonings now, but we won't be able to in a minute. That is the perfect balance of heat and sweet, with a little bit of, well, a lot of freshness from the cilantro and the lime, and the smokiness of the chipotle. If you've never cooked with canned chipotles before, they are so good. So let's get this marinade on our meat. I'm gonna divide this marinade between the two, so we are maximizing our time in the kitchen. So this is what I'm gonna make for dinner tonight, but I wanna make sure I get this marinade all in those little thin slices of meat. So it's gonna take a little bit of maneuvering around. Hopefully the meat isn't just kind of breaking up in there. Hopefully they're holding together. Our pressure canner is now counting down the time for the baked beans. This is gonna go in the fridge for dinner tonight, and I'm gonna lay this flat like this, and this is gonna go in the freezer just like this. So I'm gonna go put this in the freezer and fridge, and I'm gonna grab 2 more bags out. Next recipe, we're gonna do Mongolian beef. Now we're gonna use the beef, the thinly sliced beef. This is my mom's recipe, and I need to find the recipe. She normally makes this with flanken ribs, which are beef ribs that are cut the opposite direction of what you would normally think. And this recipe is absolutely delicious. I like flanken ribs, but I've never cooked them or made them before. So this might be the perfect alternative to those. My mom has to special request them when she wants to make them. Usually she'll make them once or twice in the summer for a barbecue. But I might, if we like this beef too, we might have to special request it too, because I had never seen this before in a grocery store. So the first thing we're gonna add is 1 cup of soy sauce. I think mine is a low sodium soy sauce. And then the next thing we're gonna add is 1/2 cup of brown sugar. And that was white sugar, so I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of molasses in there. 2 tablespoons of ketchup. I'm just gonna eyeball this. Garlic. The next thing is ginger. I have some fresh ginger here, so I'm going to peel it real quick and then I'll get it grated into our bag. You could use powdered ginger if you'd like. I just happen to have some fresh in the fridge, so we're going to get this used up. rice vinegar, 1/4 cup. These recipes will be linked down below, so you don't need to remember any measurements. Sesame oil. Sriracha. This is some homemade sriracha. And there we have it, 2 more dinners done. I'm gonna just mix this up really well, lay it flat, and get it in the freezer. I just rinsed out our blender so we can make the Greek marinade. I grabbed 4 lemons out of, well, it looks like 5 lemons out of the refrigerator. We're gonna get going on this one next. So I need the juice of 4 lemons. We'll also need lemons for the Caesar chicken, so I will only juice the 4 of these, and the other one we'll use for the Caesar chicken. I don't have my compost bowl out, so things have gotten a little bit messy around here, so I'm going to take a second just to tidy this up, get all this in the compost bowl. Now we need some fresh dill. Fresh parsley. Salt. Garlic. Some dried oregano, and the oil of your choice. I don't want to puree this completely, I kind of want to just chop it, so I'm going to turn it on low. I wasn't able to taste the Mongolian beef because that, obviously I made it directly into the raw meat, but I know that that recipe's good. And I want to just make sure I can adjust the seasonings on this one before I put it in the chicken. Ooh. So herby and delicious and lemony and fresh. All right, so this is going to go into our chicken breast. I have these cut in half again so that they're nice and thin. So this can be a main dish, or I could cook this and it could top a salad in the summer. This is the perfect summer recipe because it's just full of fresh herbs, and hopefully we're going to be having our own herbs coming out of the garden here pretty shortly. I forgot one of the ingredients, so I'm going to open these back up and put it in real quick, which is some white wine vinegar. So just a splash of that in each one. And there we go. There's our Greek chicken, all done. We're going to use our blender one more time. Well, actually 2 more times, but I just got it washed out. And we're going to start with lemons again. So this next recipe we're doing is the Caesar lemon chicken. So we're making my mom's Caesar dressing, which is super easy, and it's not a creamy Caesar dressing like most of them. It's a vinaigrette-based Caesar dressing, and it is so good. I have both a creamy Caesar dressing that is phenomenal, and then I have my mom's. They're just a little bit different. But for this recipe, I'm gonna make the more vinaigrette style Caesar dressing. So I have lemons. So this recipe is really, really easy. It's equal parts lemons, Parmesan cheese, and olive oil. So I'm gonna get this grated up, and then I'm gonna get these lemons juiced into the blender, and then I'll show you what the rest of the ingredients are. I just got my eyeball.
Oh no.
Josh is getting coffee. Oh man, it's okay. Now I'm gonna add 1 cup of oil, good amount of garlic, salt, and the ingredient that makes it absolutely delicious is Worcestershire sauce. I've never put Parmesan cheese on chicken on the grill before, and I think that's brilliant. I think it's gonna turn out so good. I love this recipe. It's perfect for a salad, and now I think it's gonna be perfect for a marinade. I have chicken breast here. I think this would be good with chicken breast or chicken thighs. These were the ones that were on sale. I normally cook with chicken thighs, but I think this is going to be just as good with chicken breast. Now this marinade is the, oh wow, teeny tiny seed in this avocado. This is a avocado buttermilk marinade, and you can, if you don't have buttermilk on hand, because a lot of times I don't have buttermilk on hand, you can substitute some sour cream if you want, or some yogurt and plain yogurt instead of buttermilk. And this marinade makes a delicious salad dressing too, or taco bowl dressing. If you are gonna make some beans and rice, you can whip this up and make an avocado dressing to go on your burrito bowl if you want. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do this in the blender. It's gonna come together in just a minute. And we're gonna start with our avocados. And we need 2 jalapenos. I'm gonna keep the seeds in mind because we like a little bit of heat. You can remove the seeds from all of them or just one of them if you want. So we're gonna put those in there. We're gonna get some fresh limes juiced into it. And while I'm down here on the cutting board, I'm also gonna cut 1 head of cilantro, and that's gonna go in the blender. Now we're gonna add some cumin, pepper, salt, and buttermilk. One last thing to go in, a cube of garlic. You need to taste this buttermilk dressing. Ooh, that's perfect. That's got some heat to it. I probably should have taken the seeds out of 2 of those jalapenos and just left the seeds in 1. I think I'm gonna add, just for Josh's sake, because I love spicy, he doesn't like quite this hot. I think to balance those jalapenos, I'm gonna add maybe about a tablespoon of honey. That will be good. And I think I'm gonna add, the beauty of cooking at home, you can adapt it and change it to however your family likes. Okay, let's give this a taste test now. Ooh, that's perfect. Still got a nice heat to it, but a little bit of sweet to help balance that. I've got 1 package of chicken breast sliced in half, and then I have some chicken thighs here. In the package with chicken thighs, I have 6 chicken thighs, and in the packages with chicken breast, I have 3 chicken breasts that are cut in half. If you don't have buttermilk, you could substitute yogurt for the buttermilk. Look how beautiful that color is, that green color. It's amazing. 2 more done. 1 more marinade to go, and that is Cuban pork. So I just ran out to the outside fridge and I grabbed some oranges. I need to get these washed up because we are gonna zest these oranges. So I'm gonna get these washed up along with our blender again. We're getting great use out of our dishes today, out of our cutting boards, our blender, our microplane. Where did it go? Right here. And this is, I'm using a pork tenderloin for this. You could use a pork shoulder if you wanted to use this recipe to slow cook this recipe. You could slow cook pork tenderloin, but it gets pretty stringy. I like grilling pork tenderloin because it's so tender, hence the name pork tenderloin, that it grills up really well and you can slice it thin and it's just so delicious. But that's why I don't like slow cooking it, because it kind of just falls apart and gets really, really stringy. But if you wanted to use this marinade and have it for a slow cooker recipe, then I would use a pork shoulder. That would be really, really good, and slow cook it that way. And you could do the same thing. Make this marinade, put it on the pork shoulder, throw it in the fridge, pull it out, let it marinate for a while, and then when you're ready to use it. My microplane has been broken for a really long time, but it's still functioning. I can still use it, so I haven't found the need to go buy a new one. So we're gonna zest, I'm gonna zest 4 oranges because I need quite a bit of orange juice. So once I zest these oranges, then I'm going to juice them into this blender along with probably 5 limes. We're gonna put some lime juice in here. Our canner's still going, so we haven't even been in here doing this for an hour and a half yet, not even close. Look how beautiful these oranges are. I'm gonna be here for a second squeezing these oranges. If you did not want to go through the effort of squeezing fresh citrus, you could certainly use, I just squeezed it on myself. You could certainly use bottled. I don't have any bottled lime juice right now, but I have a lot of fresh lime, so this is a great way to use them up. Now we're gonna add 1 bunch of cilantro. I do add some of the stems because it's gonna be blended. I don't really worry about the stems. Some fresh mint. I need to get this growing in the garden as soon as possible because it grows like a weed and it can be kind of pricey to purchase it at the store fresh. The next couple ingredients are the spices. So I just added cumin, that's black pepper, salt, and a couple chunks of our homegrown pureed garlic that's frozen. I am using a pork tenderloin for this recipe. I like pork tenderloin because this is what I prefer to grill when it comes to pork, and because it grills up so quickly. You know what, I should taste this first before we put this on our meat. And because it grills so quickly, it stays nice and moist versus I find pork chops to dry out pretty easily. Oh, that's delicious. That is so good. I don't think it needs any seasoning adjustments. You know what? Am I missing the oil for it? Yep, I forgot the oil. I'm just gonna put the oil directly on the meat. And here we go. We have 2 more dinners ready to go. Now there's a couple different ways I could serve this to change up the dinner because they're the same cut of meat, they're the same marinade. I could grill them and then make, you know, a side salad, a rice dish or something like that. And we could have a meat, protein, and starch. Or I could grill them and we could turn them into sandwiches, Cuban sandwiches with pickled onions and mustard and cheese. So you can have the same marinade, and depending on what you serve it with and how you serve it, you can really change up the dinner. So you're not having the exact same dinner 2 nights in a row, even though it's the same cut of meat and the same marinade. So delicious. So into the freezer it goes. So this is what I'm working with here. I normally clean as I go. That's the type of cook I am, but that did not happen today. So I am going to take a second now that all the marinades are done. Our canner is still going. It has this good 20 minutes left on it. So we were able to get a lot done. I'm gonna bring everything out of the fridge once I get this cleaned, and I will go over it again what we made today because we made a ton of stuff. And we have dinner done too. So not only in less than, I mean, it's been an hour, this has been in here for about an hour and 10 minutes. We have been able to get 5, well, I guess we can't count the beans because we did that before, obviously started counting down, but we were able to get, I don't even know. Let me get this cleaned up and then we'll count up how many meals we made because it was a lot. All right, time to focus. Let's get this done. I'm normally someone who likes to tidy as I go, but today let's just get it done, and I did not tidy as I go. A lot of these ingredients I used for multiple recipes, so I didn't find the need to put them away to just then pull them out again. So now I'm gonna go ahead and focus and get this kitchen clean so that I can go spend some time out in the garden with you, because that is the next thing we are gonna be doing on this date, and I'm really excited to get out into the garden. I love cooking. I'm passionate about cooking. I love cooking from scratch. I love learning new skills and stretching my culinary abilities by learning to make things that typically we buy at the grocery store, like homemade tortillas. But just because I enjoy spending time in the kitchen does not mean that I want to spend time in the kitchen every single day. For example, today, or that I even have the time to spend in the kitchen every day. So for example, today's a computer work day for me. I am not going to leave my desk all day, and I really don't have the time or the energy really to spend much time in the kitchen. So today I'm going to pull out one of the Mongolian beefs, and I'm going to let that thaw in some cold water, and then once it's thawed, I will throw it in the fridge, and that will be ready for me to just grill up really quickly. I will steam some vegetables, and I will make some rice. And so I will have a beautiful dinner that is going to take me less than 15 minutes to throw together. I don't have to make a marinade. I don't have to think in advance on pulling out the different sauces to have meat marinating all day. I can just pull it out of the fridge and let it thaw, and then continue to marinate as it's sitting in the fridge waiting for me to make dinner. Now, you will see later on how I pull together dinner on this night, and it's just doing these bulk freezer cooking days are a way to, one, save some money because I am not falling into the trap on the nights that I don't want to cook, running out and getting takeout. And I was able to take advantage of that sale that I found on the meat and fill my freezer with that. And two, I can control the ingredients. So I can, when I make these marinades, because I'm making them homemade from scratch, I can control if I want to use fresh or dried herbs, if I want to use a seed oil or a non-seed oil, and I can base those choices based on my personal preferences, my convictions, my budget. And then thirdly, I can just make an entire mess of this kitchen here on this day. I can spend an hour just completely tearing it apart, half an hour or so cleaning it back up. And then now I have all these marinated meats and dinner's ready to go, where I'm also going to save myself a ton of time because I'm not going to have to clean the kitchen as much next time I go to make dinner with one of these freezer meals. Kitchen is clean. The the pressure canner, I almost said Instant Pot, is done. Now it just needs to cool. Just like an Instant Pot, it has to cool and the pressure has to come down before you can open it. Except on one of these canners, they do not have a manual release. You want it just to come down naturally. So we're gonna let that cool. That probably is gonna take a good 35 minutes or so before it is ready to open. Kitchen is clean. So we got a lot done. Let me show you all the stuff we got done today. This is incredible. My future self is already super grateful for all the work that was just put in. 12 dinners in the freezer except for this. Wait, which one? I want to do the beef. Yeah, this is the beef. This is going to be for dinner tonight, so I'm going to stick this in the fridge. These are all going to go out into the freezer for dinners this coming spring and summer. We have Mongolian beef. This is Cuban pork tenderloin, Caesar chicken, Greek chicken, avocado, cilantro, buttermilk chicken, and what we're having for dinner tonight is honey chipotle chicken, but we're having the beef version. So this is beef, this is chicken, and the rest of these are going to be for dinner throughout the summer and spring. Now that I got the kitchen work done and it's cooled down a little bit outside, I'm gonna get these in the freezer and then we're gonna go do some planting. And I've been thinking about it as I've been working in the kitchen, but I still don't totally have a plan. So we'll go out there together and kind of work through a few things. We spent the whole afternoon in the garden together and now it's time for dinner. So I'm going to show you how I throw together dinner, and this is going to be a very typical way I might throw one of these marinades together for dinner. But I'm first going to take these baked beans out of the canner. They do need to sit for at least 2 weeks before you open them. So I will label them, put them in the pantry, and we will give them a try this summer. I have the grill going right now. I pulled out some shredded cheese that was already done, some pickles. These are red onion pickles, quick pickles, some homemade sour cream, homemade hot sauce, some spring mix, and some homemade tortillas that I had in the freezer, and I pulled these out this morning to thaw so we can have those, and I didn't have to make homemade tortillas. So the meat is going on the grill in just a second. We are going to have a delicious dinner as long as the steak turns out, which I'm sure it's going to be delicious. Hopefully it's not too spicy. That's my one thing that I worry, that it might be a little too spicy. Chipotles are one of those things because they're jalapenos. Jalapenos sometimes are hot and sometimes they're not. My goodness, I love this new cut of beef. It is probably one of my new favorites. It only took a matter of a couple minutes on the grill. Super fun, super delicious, and I can't wait to try the Mongolian beef with this cut of meat as well. And it tastes absolutely incredible. I am so excited for Josh to come in here and enjoy some tacos for dinner. It's Taco Tuesday, so it is a good day. So thank you again for being here. Thank you again for being you, and I can't wait to see you next time. Bye, friend.